going to talk about this section called I Need Do Nothing in the context of forgiveness. So there's a section in the course that makes the point, I need do nothing, and specifically says it's far better to focus on those words, I need do nothing, than to focus on anything that you may or may not do or say. I think it can cause some controversy because it could lead to ridiculous outcomes. That I need to do nothing, so I'm never going to move from the exact spot that I'm sitting in right now. And it should be understood along with the definition of forgiveness, which we already established is looking, waiting, and quietly doing nothing, which means taking the hand of Jesus, your inner guide, and looking upon the world without judgment. And that means looking upon yourself, and whether that's behavior or your reactions, the most important piece is to do it without judgment. You know you're looking with Jesus if you're doing it without judgment. So no matter what your reaction is, if you're angry and upset, terrified, or happy, you're watching yourself in the world with Jesus. Just looking, waiting, quietly doing nothing. So that is the part of your mind that is aware, that is standing back from all of your interactions. And it makes you aware that you have a split mind. There's a part of you that can just become an awareness of what seems to be happening, what you seem to think, say, and do. That part of your mind that is the awareness is the part of your mind that's connected to the truth in you. So when he says, I need do nothing, that also has to be read along with his statement, the script is written. The script is written and we're mentally reviewing something that is long gone by. That point is made in the course. If the script is written, there are no choices to be made. There's an illusion of choice because we identify with a dream figure. That dream figure is going to seem to do things. It's going to seem to say things. It's going to seem to be a cause of certain effects and be affected by causes outside of it. That is all the seeming within the dream. But in truth, your identification with that figure does not make you a doer in truth. I need do nothing could be recharacterized as I can't do anything. Because you can't alter the script. What is going to happen is going to happen no matter how much you try to stop it, and what's not going to happen won't happen no matter how much you try to bring it about. So that's the underlying premise. It actually forms the basis for the premise of the entire course, that you are not what you think you are. If there are real decisions to make within the dream or hologram or shadow world where we believe we are, if there are actual decisions to make with differing outcomes, then is it not an illusion? Then is the course incorrect? In order to maintain integrity, the script is written has to be taken at face value. Now there's level 1 and level 2 thinking, and level 1 thinking is what's true at the level of the mind. Level 2 is what's true at the level of the world. So I wouldn't go around in the world, and if people say, that's blue, I wouldn't say, no, it's not blue because there's no such thing as blue, because this has no greater substance than a dream. We live our normal lives here. We talk like normal people do, just with the awareness that's watching, the awareness that wants to withdraw projections within which I place the blame for what is within me outside of me. So at level 2 in the world, and the being a body in a world, I would be upset about something and I point my finger. So the subtext of that, you are responsible for the way that I feel. You are responsible for any upset I experience. The subtext of that is you're responsible for me, who I am right now. You made me by what you have done. Maybe I was good and kind and then you did something and now I'm angry and now I am altered. Seeing the cause outside of me is essential because if I withdraw my projections, that will lead me back into my mind. So at level 1, I believe I am the victimizer. I destroyed oneness. I killed God. I fear the wrath of that God. I fear the wrath of something larger than my little self. Having turned my back on being a part of that oneness, now I fear it's coming after me. So at the level of the mind, I'm the destroyer. The level of the world, everything around me is the destroyer of me. Whether it's a person, a circumstance, or an event, it could be anything. It could be me. It could be self-sabotaging. To say I need do nothing, as I said, is to say I can't do anything. All I can do is play out what seems to be the life of the figure I identified with. I do see, I've recently seen some course groups where I see some debate, and there's a lot more controversy in A Course in Miracles, that world, than I was aware of, because I studied under one teacher from 1997 to 2013 when he passed away. And since 2013, I've been studying on my own with my internal guide. So I had a worldly teacher, but I also have, of course, my internal teacher and guide. And I think in order to be orthodox, the positions we take in relation to the Course have to make sense and have to be cohesive. The Course speaks on different levels. Sometimes it speaks at the level of the body, as though we are in the world and we have decisions to make. The rules for decision making say, ask the Holy Spirit to decide for you. If you feel upset, say, I must have decided wrongly, and go back and do it again. That is meeting us where we think we are. We think we are confronted with thousands of choices every day. We have to decide whether to go left or right. I have to decide what to wear. Every move we make seems to be a decision. That is part of the illusion. Once you breathe life into it, you have to adopt that perspective that you are the dream figure. Over time, when you turn to the Holy Spirit more and more in your mind, when you look upon everything without judgment, then you can see there's only one decision to make, whether to look on everything with the ego, in which it will be appropriate to be preoccupied with the decisions you have to make in the world, because that's what the ego will tell you. Don't ever look within, because you have to be preoccupied with the number of decisions you have made. And they're dramatic decisions too. They're not all, should I have a Coke or a Pepsi? These are what would appear to us to be life-altering decisions. We can't see them for the nothingness that they are. Not from this perspective, even knowing it's all going to end in dust. That's not enough for us. We still believe there's life-altering decisions to be made, and we will experience the consequences of those decisions. So they become another thing to blame when I'm not happy. So my mind will tell me, no, it's not that you turned your back on what you are. That's not the reason you're unhappy. It's not because you long to go home, because a memory of home keeps haunting you. That's not the reason. You're unhappy because you made a terrible decision where you became a lawyer and now you hate doing it. And now you've ruined your life because you're deeply in debt. The stories our egos will tell us will always explain why we feel the way we do. It will always be a cause outside of us. You can also count your own the decisions you make, because our body is actually appearing to be outside of the mind. So the essential part is to hold a grievance, because a grievance holds the entire world in place. Without our grievances, who are we? Without our grievances, we're at peace. And that peace would be the memory of God. We would realize the truth, and the dream wouldn't last. So in order to keep the dream alive, we require grievances. We require seeing something outside of ourselves to blame. That is the level 2. In level 2, again, once you identify with it, you think you are the actor. You think you are the puppet on the stage. You never stop. The truth never stops being true, regardless of what we believe. So even though we believe we are these puppets making decisions, the truth goes on uninterrupted. Not one note in Heaven's song was missed. But it's only out of our awareness. At level 1, I need do nothing because at level 1, we're pure mind. If we get in the habit of pulling back when we see ourselves starting to go down the road of grievances, when we are clinging to a grievance, if we can train ourselves to pull it back and say, there must be another way of looking at this. I am never upset for the reason I think. I can see peace instead of this. If we can withdraw that projection, which is basically a decision about why I feel terrible, that's what a grievance is. Your grievance is not about what someone else seems to do. It is an explanation for us as to why we feel terrible without ever having to go back into our mind. The ego will always counsel, keep looking outward, keep looking outward. Look outward for cause at all times, never look inward for cause. When we withdraw those projections, and it takes us back into our mind, then we're looking with Jesus without judgment on the thought system that we chose. The ego thought system of sin, guilt, and fear, of loss and devastation and suffering. It's only in our minds where we can make another decision. We can't make another decision while we're asleep and dreaming. We have to go back within. And we start the process by withdrawing the projections. So going back to I need do nothing, I would take a real hardline approach on that and say, it works at every level. It works at every level, but since the script is written, if it doesn't call for the body to do nothing, then the body's going to do something. And I know that that could really be ridiculed in the sense that it doesn't even really make sense to do nothing at the level of the world. But it's not impossible either. So I take the position it makes sense everywhere. It's not essential to see it that way, but I need do nothing should be understood in the context of the definition of forgiveness and that the script is written. Because when we awaken from the dream, we'll see we never did do anything. We merely identified with something. There was a ride at an amusement park I went to called the Cine 2000, and I call this to mind a lot when I think about this. The Cine 2000 was a large dome with a series of bars, a huge movie screen, and a series of bars lined up. People would go into the dome and hold on to a bar in front of them, just stand up, and there'd be rows of bars, and you'd hold on to the bar in front of you, and a movie would start. And the movie would be in the first person. So it appeared as though you're looking through the eyes of the camera and scary things were happening. You were on a roller coaster. You were a passenger in a car driven by someone driving very erratically and dangerously off of cliffs. You were skydiving. So you would move your body because of that first person perspective. Nothing ever happened to you, but you screamed and it looked scary because you were looking in the first person. You didn't control what was being depicted by the screen. You didn't actually drive a car, but it's the first person viewing. You were essentially an awareness of what was being depicted. That is a great expression of what is really happening. Is when you identify with the particular body or instrument of communication, that's really all a body is. When you identify with that and you see through the eyes that were made to look outward, never inward, and touch and smell and hear everything so that what you are is proven to you by all of those witnesses, your sense witnesses. It's like being in the Cine 2000. Now you're going to play it out, but you're going to believe you are the thing you identify with. You can put on a mask and know, I'm not Dracula. I put this Dracula mask on, or I put this witch mask on for Halloween, but I never mistake that it's my true identity. So we adopted an identity because we wanted to. because we wanted to experience separation. We didn't want to be a part of oneness. And when we come to understand that there is nothing of value in separation, and we see it for what it is, it's either terror or you're awaiting an antagonist for terror. It's suffering or you're waiting an antagonist for suffering. There is nothing that is eternal here, and it all must end in death. There's a line in the Course that says, accept no compromise in which death plays a part. And my teacher used to do a derivation of that, accept no compromise in which duality plays a part. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. A Course in Miracles students don't see value in duality. So when they read in the Course about the hungry dogs of fear, about throwing people over precipices, about what special love is, it equals special hate, about what it means to live in a world and suffer and die, there's immediate recognition, wow, that is it. There is nothing of value here. And for me, when I read those dark passages about the nature of the ego, the nature of the world, which is essentially the nature of me as I identify with it, it sounds like a beautiful song. Because if something resonates in you as a fundamental truth, you hear it as music. And the truth, whatever it is, has value. And so when I read those passages, I hear a beautiful song because I don't just hear a description of the water I'm drowning in. I hear the answer to the drowning. There is no water. And some things, I think might help for someone who is kind of uninitiated in the idea of illusion, Maya, the hologram, the shadows on the wall. If that's all totally new to you, I would kind of revert back to some passages that talk about how God is not insane. If God made this world, God is insane. And there's this line in the Course that says, your path is the particular way in which a message reaches you that God is not insane. The Course is that way for me. It is the particular way a universal curriculum was able to reach me and teach me that God is not insane, that it must be true that God is love. I don't know if I ever could have learned, if I had learned that lesson without A Course in Miracles. I don't think so. The Course also says that this Course is written in a language that you will love and accept. And I think that is true for some people, not everybody, and that's okay. I'm just incredibly grateful for my path and my teacher. And obviously, I love talking about it. My favorite thing to do is talk about the Course, but even that is clarified. I have no interest whatsoever in debating what the Course says because my teacher, Dr. Ken Wapnick, resonated so fully, so certainly, that I no longer have any questions. I don't have questions about the Course. I don't have questions about what it means. And I find it to be a big bore to the idea of even debating what the Course says. That's incredibly boring to me and no fun. So I've seen that sometimes online where people start arguing about whether the script is written, whether there's different versions of the script, which to me makes it real and moves your investment from not looking without judgment with Jesus to being invested in how looking without judging with Jesus will look in the world. So it all gets really messy if you go down certain roads. So I view myself as a devout Orthodox Wapnickian Course student. And every single word my teacher said didn't just resonate with me. I saw it in the pages of my book, and they came to life and they live and breathe in me now. So I suppose if somebody feels differently, this is not the space for you. And there's lots of other spaces. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that you can talk to 10 different Course in Miracles students, and they could potentially tell you it says 10 different things, just like any other path in the world. It's all an individualized curriculum, and you'll know because you'll know how you feel. You'll know how it makes you feel. So the only thing I know and speak from is my experience. And I suppose that's what everybody does. What comforts me won't comfort someone else. What lights a path for me will not light a path for someone else. But all roads lead to him, and that's okay that we think and believe different things here. There is no one path for every single person who walks the earth. So I believe we need do nothing. The script is written, and forgiveness is the only thing we can do, and it's not about the body. Forgiveness never looks like something. So if we try to set forgiveness in an earthly frame, we're going to lose sight of it. God doesn't care about what happens in a fake world we made up and dreamed up when we turned our back on him. He doesn't know anything about this world. We know about this world because we chose to turn our backs on him. In the way back to remembering we are at home in God, dreaming of exile, is through forgiveness. It can't be a pathway in the world. There is no pathway in the world that is one with his. No worldly goal is one with God's, and no pathway in the world will lead to him. The pathway is each of our individual roads to remember him. Remembering, recognizing, awakening has nothing to do with the body. None of those things. Your body could be doing anything and you could recognize something. Your body could be doing anything and you could realize something or awaken. And that's the reminder we need for ourselves. If we do the workbook, if we study the text, is that it's not talking to a little self in a body in a world doomed to die. It is talking to the mind that believes it's those things. So as we go about our busy doings, we can remind ourselves, I need do nothing. The script is written, and my function is to take Jesus's hand and without judgment, look, wait, and quietly do nothing. Thank you.